Hello, everybody, and welcome to day number, I'm looking at my calendar, 19 of the Poetry Challenge. And today I'm going to do something a little bit different, but not really that different for me. I did, and by the way, go visit Amy at Breakfast Poetry Live on Instagram at Hypness and Outrage. You can see it there. Also, she has this beautiful handmade book that she's selling, Moon Devoured, which is a poetry chapbook that she put together herself. Beautiful poetry in here, beautifully done poetry book, the actual book part. She sews it together herself, and she made this. I think it's called Lino Cut, but she did that design, which I just love. And I just got this last night, and I've heard her read a few of the poems, but I'm looking forward to getting into that. But now, back to what I was doing. It's going to be a little bit different. I read a while ago out of this book, The Catalpa Bow, about poetry and how poetry was originally an utterance of shamanistic magic, specifically speaking of haiku. And so this book is a scholarly book. It is well researched, a lot of accolades for this book. But I wanted to read that section of it because as a poet that naturally gravitates towards that 5-7-5 syllabic pattern or meter, I was incredibly impressed. And also, sorry, I'm thinking, how much do I want to share? And also, in my life, my entire life, I've always been the odd duck out, and I have been accused of being a witch. I don't even like that word so many times, and having strange, like just being a weirdo. I am. I come to grips with it now. But probably about 5 years ago, I started actually looking into that and researching it and practicing. And so when I read this book that talked about the shamanistic utterances of haiku beginning as a beginning of poetry, I got super impressed. Super impressed. And then the other thing I realized, I was really thinking about this a lot yesterday for some reason. And then the other thing I realized is I have never, despite doing different practices and rituals, I have never tried to write a spell or an incantation. So I was like, let's do that. I'm going to write an incantation. So I did. And I'm going to perform that incantation and I've got the candles already. I've got the whole ceremony set up a little bit in advance so that I don't take up your time watching this. But yeah, let's do that. But first, I want to read to you out of Catalpa Bow what, what's his name? Carmen Blacker says about, I think that actually is a woman, says about poetry. Elsewhere, and we were just talking about how the gods speak through shaman in early Japan. And we're talking like multiples of hundreds of years ago. So, and then we're talking about the utterances. Okay, and then we continue with, elsewhere, a longer utterance as usual, though to be convincing it must be delivered with violence and even rudeness. But here, as Nakayama points out, we can detect in the gods' speech the meter which from the earliest times has been fundamental to Japanese poetry, a meter of alternating 7 and 5 syllables. I do want to point out that Okinawa, which still has a very active and shamanistic, it's Yuta and the Noto, the priestesses and the shamanists, very active still. And so Japan often is mixed up with Okinawa, but they are two separate cultures. So I will let this say Japanese poetry, but I suspect the shaman that they're talking about here are actually Ryukin or Okinawan or Shimanshu. So Japanese poetry or Okinawan. A meter of alternating 7 and 5 syllables. The first deity to appear in the Nikon Shoki account announced its name to be, please forgive me, Kamikaze no Isi no Kuni Momo Satao Watari Kata no Saku Kushiro ni Iru Kami na wa Tukesake Kaketsuno Matama Amasakaru Muka Mukatsuhime no Mikoto. And I really apologize. I'm sure I butchered that up. The 7/5 rhythm, if not very regular, is discernible, as also are examples of the Makura Katoba, or pillow word, fixed epitaphs of possibly magical import, which are found attached to certain words in early poetry. Hence, Nakayama's contention that Japanese poetry made its beginnings in the utterances of a shaman in a trance. Its meter and its poetic devices are not the work of man, but revealed from a divine source. Okay. So, as a poet, and as a poet that writes haiku, and as a poet that writes haiku that practices, I don't want to say occultism, but practices ceremonial things, we'll say that. Oh, shoot, I lost my page. Anyways, that was like really kind of cool. So, I wrote an incantation. And let's try it. And I see I have a comment, and I do. Oh, hey, Tatey Cake. Do you come here to watch all the craziness? It's going to get crazy. And I don't think Tatey Cake has ever been here before. I just want to let you know, Tatey, I don't normally do this, but I'm doing it today. So I wrote the incantation. I've already prepared the candles. So we have a black candle to pull in negativity. We have a yellow candle to release light and beneficial energy. And these are beeswax. I don't use paraffin and things like that. And these candlesticks are ones that I made because the beeswax is the tapers are so thin. These actually have like a little spike so that I can nail them on there. So I've got that prepared. And I have the incense, which I will light it with. And then I'm going to read the incantation. And hopefully nothing explodes. And hopefully everybody doesn't think I'm a complete nut, because this is the first time I am doing anything like this out in where anybody can see me. And then I was going to say one other thing. Oh, I apologize if I have like stuff all over my fingers. I've been messing with incense and stuff, obviously, this morning. So the candles are already inscribed. Everything is ready. I'm going to light them and read this incantation. I have this. And then the incense is going to be set aside so it can carry the energy of this spell up and out into the world. Okay, it's a little trickier with headphones on because I don't want to light the headphones on fire. But I have the candles absorbing the detrimental energy, releasing the beneficial energy, and now I will cast the incantation. If poetry is a vehicle for magic, then I choose to cast mad agape, love that will burn like singing flame to whomever hears. May the barriers that divide us fall away and our vision clear, so that we may see the divine spark that dwells in every cosmic thing. This moment I bless, that our eyes will be opened and granted true sight. What matters is love. Let it loose upon the world to illuminate. Shadow I cast down. Spirit of love I release to return balance. I ask for this thing with no intention of harm. Please bring this wish forth. And that is, we do have so much negativity in the world right now. I thought that is a safe thing to cast a spell for, is some agape or selfless love into the world. So, and I am sorry, I forgot to share that. I usually try to share the words. But yeah, that was that. This is going to burn down now. And if there is a lump of black wax left, I will pull that off and snap it. And then I will dispose of it in a special way, because that's casting away that negativity. You don't want to keep it. But beeswax, one of the really nice things about the beeswax candles is there usually is no residue. Everything evaporates. And so this will burn along with the incense to carry that incantation up. And hey, hopefully it works, because we could surely use some agape love type things in the world. So I hope that you found it interesting to talk about spell work and poetry from the Catalpa bow is where I got that information from. And again, really think he's probably, or she is probably talking about the Okinawan or the Shamanchu priestesses and shamans. But it was a different world when that book was written. And yeah, that was it for poetry today. Fast and furious as always. I try to keep it under 10 minutes. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. And thank you for being here. Thank you, Tatey Cake. Now I'm a little bit embarrassed because when somebody from another world comes to visit you in your other world, you're always like a little bit like, oh, you're going to think I'm weird. But you know what? Honestly, if you know me, you already knew that as well. So that's it. I will see you guys tomorrow for more of this poetry challenge. It is day 19. It's been a long haul. I'm almost done. See you tomorrow.